Hi friends, Adam Shaw here from my studio in Northern California with the next episode of my series called Let's Talk About Art. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about, does art matter? Like everything, that I'm bringing up here, these are really big topics that we could have a seminar on that topic alone. And like I always say, if there's interest in these videos, we can come back and explore the same subject again and expand on it. And that may be what happens with this topic. Does art matter? Well, it really depends on you. Because art in and of itself doesn't matter. I mean, things only matter to the extent that they're interacted with, observed, appreciated, and so on and so forth. And there's so many different kinds of art and so many different ways that people appreciate art, that people think about and live with art. So, for example, let's go up the ladder, the food chain. Um, there's art that is made just for people to experience the joy of expressing themselves. And that is fantastic. I mean, I really think that everybody would benefit from having like a nice pad and some crayons or some pastels, regardless of their so-called skill set, um, just to be able to express themselves. Because art, as a vehicle for self-expression, matters to the person that does it. It might not matter to anybody else, and that doesn't matter. It's not for anybody else if it's just for the artist's own appreciation of participating in a creative act, which is a natural function of being a human being. When you do make art, drawings, painting, whatever, even if you have no observable or skill worth bragging about, you're still plugging into an intelligence and an energy that moves through human beings and that kind of in a strange way makes you more human. And of course, if you begin that way and you find out that you love it, which is how a lot of great artists begin, just by making art for themselves. Um, then if you spend, I think they say 10,000 hours to gain mastery, that's the general thought at large, 10,000 hours. A friend of mine recently he computed that I've painted for over 50,000 hours. I don't know what that makes me, but I've certainly passed the 10,000 mark a long time ago. If you noodle around and you decide that you really like it, and you pursue it, and you start to get more sophisticated and better at it, maybe then you become a professional artist. I think you can call yourself a professional artist when you start to make a living by making art. That's what I mean by a professional artist. It's not a judgment call as to the quality of the work. It's to, what the relationship of your work is to life in general. So there's that. There's the noodler who may or may not go on to greatness, but it doesn't really matter. Then there's, let's say, decorative art. I recently met a woman who told me that she had bought a house, and I said, "Do you have any art?" She said, "No, I definitely need to get some wall hangings." And I thought, well, that's a very interesting way to think about art. That's kind of like saying, I need to get a new rug, or I need to get a new couch. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is not judgmental. I'm just trying to break these things down for ways to think about art. So there's the person who appreciates either the beauty or the whimsicalness or the space-filling ability of a piece of created work to hang on a wall. I mean, when I first started painting many years ago, I did it because I wanted to have art and couldn't really afford to buy art, or the art that I liked I couldn't afford to buy. Paul Klee and Kandinsky and Miro, and those are artists that I really loved. And I just started making paintings that imitated them, those guys. And then, you know, 40 years later, here I am. So there's the noodler, and then there's the wall hanger. And then the wall hanger can be someone who just wants something on their wall that's pleasant to look at, not too challenging, not particularly interesting, but matches the couch and the rug, looks good next to the curtains or whatever. And then there's the more sophisticated viewer who has looked at more art, spent more time in galleries, museums, and so forth, and loves having something beautiful or meaningful on their walls. That is the kind of person that goes into galleries, and if they're lucky, they have a little bit of money. And even if you have very little bit of money, if you really want stuff, you can look high and low, and you can find stuff you like that's fairly inexpensive. Of course, if you want to start collecting artists who have some track record and have lots of shows and all that, then naturally the price goes up. Then there's artists, the kind of art made by artists who are established professionals and they're making a living doing their work. And within that group, there's an extremely wide variety of, well, they generally break it up into three groups. There's emerging, mid-career, and established artists. That's how the art world talks about artists. So someone who's just had a show, their first show or two shows, or I don't know how many shows you emerge from before you're mid-career, and how many years that takes. But when you're a mid-career artist, you have somewhat of a track record. You've had a bunch of shows and been in a bunch of galleries. Maybe you're in a couple of museum collections and all that. And then if you're one of the chosen and you're really lucky, and sometimes this means you're extremely skillful, and sometimes it means that you're extremely lucky, both. Maybe you're in the right time at the right place. You met the right person. You met one exceptional patron or dealer, and that can take you up into the stratosphere, the sky's the limit type of thing. Blue chip work that goes to auction, and then you become a commodity, investment worthy commodity, and people start to collect you, partially because they like and appreciate and enjoy the work, but a lot of the work that people spend serious money for goes right into storage. It never even gets seen. It's just like having money in the bank, and that's really always a little sad when a great painting is sold and not even the person who bought it gets to see it. It's like in Switzerland, in some untaxable haven where it's just gathering dust until it's brought to auction again. So that's one way of looking at the ladder of art. But I want to introduce another idea into this discussion, which is what the possibilities of art might be for the artist and for the viewer. For the artist, art is a discipline, a path, and a way of life. Now, the artist may or may not have spiritual inclinations and wanting to, transcend the mundane and to enter the spiritual realm through their work. But nonetheless, that artist may be truly dedicated to the activity of making art as a way of being in the world. And then there's the collector of that of work who wants to collect work for its possible transcendent properties. And that's the work that really interests me. That's the work that I want to look at. You know, I can appreciate a lot of different kinds of work. I can appreciate a lot of different levels of skill. But what I really want is work that just kind of cracks me open. Uh, Either cracks me open because it's so beautiful and moving, or because it's so deep and poignant, or because it is so indescribably mysterious. And that's where art can be a spiritual and even a sacred practice for the person who's making it and for the person who's looking at it. Because when you live with a work of art that has the ability to create a bridge between you and something truly extraordinary, an extraordinary experience of being here now in this very moment, you're really getting a reward that is kind of like a transcendent and delightful and indescribable, ineffable experience. So those are just some thoughts to open up this topic, which I say is extremely broad. I could take any one of the little segments that I addressed and expand upon it, and perhaps we will do so. But that's just some food for thought. I hope you like it and find it interesting. Feel free to leave a comment. Please like and subscribe, share, and so on and so forth as I begin my ascent up the food chain of YouTubers to get to a platform where there'll be a lot of people watching these, so we can really have some interesting dialogues and explorations of art in all its many facets. Until next time, I'll say thank you very much, and we'll see you again.